Mark Carney just announced that the government would be absorbing 2,200 unsold condo units from the developers. Now, this sounds great, but what does this mean for condo pricing? What does this mean for developers to get rescued? What does this mean for buyers losing negotiating power? Or does it actually help the market by clearing dead inventory and turning empty condos into affordable housing? This is one of the biggest housing market stories in BC right now, and the impact will not be the same for buyers, sellers, investors, renters, and developers. So, today, let's break down properly, not emotionally, not politically, but from a real estate market perspective. Because if this plan actually goes through, it could change the lower mainland condo market over the next 6 to 18 months. And the impacts can be felt in the next 3 to 5 years. Before we get into it, if you live in the Fraser Valley or in the Metro Vancouver area and you want real estate updates without the hype, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. But if you want a one on one consult on what your situation is and how you can take advantage of the current market or get more for the home that you want to sell, there's a link in my description below to book a one on one consult with me. Now let's get into it. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Premier David Eby announced a major housing infrastructure partnership for BC. The headline number is big, more than 5 billion in federal infrastructure support for BC. But the part that matters most for today's video is the federal government is putting about 1.6 billion over 10 years. BC is matching it, and together that becomes up to 3.2 billion to reduce development charges on multi-unit housing. In simple terms, this is designed to lower some of the costs developers pay while building condos, rentals, and multifamily homes. The reduction could be up to 50% or up to 40,000 per unit in priority communities. Now that's the first part. The second part is the one that really caught my attention. The federal and provincial government are also announced a condo conversion partnership. The idea used to use Build Canada Homes and BC Housing to convert more than 2,200 vacant condos into affordable homes. And that is where the real estate market impact gets very interesting. Because if you look at CMHC's May 2026 data, the Vancouver CMA has around 4,376 completed and unabsorbed apartment units. So if the government absorbs 2,200 units, that is roughly half of that unsold apartment inventory. Again, not every unit in that CMHC number may qualify as a developer condo inventory, but directionally, this is a very big move. This is not a small pilot project. This is not 100 units here or 200 units there. This is the government potentially stepping in and removing a meaningful portion of the unsold new condo overhang from the market. Why does this matter? Let's understand the problem first. Right now, the lower mainland condo market is under pressure. The Metro Vancouver apartment sales were down about 7% year over year in May 2026, and the apartment benchmark pricing was also down almost 8% year over year. In the Fraser Valley, apartment prices were down almost 9% year over year, and the overall market is still in the buyer's market territory. This matters because condos are often the entry point for real estate market. When condos slow down, first time home buyers slow down. When first time home buyers slow down, move up buyers slow down. And when move up buyers slow down, townhomes and detached homes also feel the impact. And we are seeing it all across the market over the last 2 years. So even though this announcement is about condos, the effect can ripple through the entire lower mainland market. But the bigger issue is not the development side. Developers do not build most condo towers with 100% of their own cash. They need financing. And lenders usually want to see a strong pre sale before giving construction financing. But when buyers are nervous, investors pull back, interest rates are still painful, and prices are declining, Pre-sale becomes harder. That creates a freeze. That's the freeze which we are looking at right now. Developers cannot sell enough units. Lenders become cautious. Projects get delayed. Some projects get cancelled. Construction jobs get affected. And 3 or 4 years later, we wake up and say, why is there no new supply? This is the issue the government is trying to avoid. But the question is, will this plan help affordability or will it just rescue developers? Let's look at these three possible scenarios. Scenario one, let's term it as the soft landing. And this is the best case version. In this scenario, the government buys a large block of unsold condos at a negotiated discount, not at inflated marketing pricing, but at a realistic bulk price. Those units are then converted into affordable rentals, non market housing, so some kind of below market housing structure. What happens then? First, developers get liquidity. They can pay down debts, clean up their balance sheets, and avoid dumping inventory into the market all at once. Second, buyers will keep some negotiating power because the government is not necessarily buying every unit from every building at full retail pricing. Third, the rental market gets some more help because vacant units are actually occupied. And fourth, the construction pipeline gets some confidence back. If the lender sees that the inventory overhang is being reduced, they may become slightly more comfortable financing new projects again. But here is the key point. This does not mean pricing suddenly explodes. It probably means the market stabilizes and instead of the condo pricing falling sharply, they may flatten. Instead of the developers offering massive incentives forever, those incentives may become more targeted. And instead of the market freezing completely, transactions slowly start to move again. Now, the question is, by when? If the government releases the detailed model in fall of 2026, we could see the first real impact by mid to end of 2027. You may start seeing fewer desperate developer incentives in the most affected submarkets. By 2028, if the program is executed well, presale confidence could improve in selected areas, especially near transit, employment hubs, and communities where inventory is currently elevated. And this is the soft landing outcome, not a boom, not a crash, just a controlled release of pressure. Let's term scenario 2 as the price floor scenario. This is the scenario where buyers need to watch closely. This is the version where government buying creates a psychological floor under the new condo market. Developers may start thinking, why should I discount aggressively if the government might buy my unsold inventory? Lenders may think, maybe this project is not as risky anymore because government is stepping in. And buyers may suddenly hear sales centers saying, the market has bottomed, inventory is being absorbed, incentives may not last. That does not mean the market actually becomes hot again. But the real estate is not about numbers, it is also about confidence and psychology. If developers believe the worst is behind them, they may stop cutting prices. If buyers believe the bottom has passed, some may rush back in. And if investors believe the government is indirectly protecting the condo market, some may start looking at it again. This is where affordability can get complicated. Because if governments pay too much, or if the terms are too generous, it may protect developer pricing instead of improving buyer affordability. In that case, the program becomes less about housing affordability and more about preventing price discovery. And that is the risk because sometimes markets do need prices to adjust. If a condo was priced too high, the square foot is too small, it is poorly laid out, or not suitable for real end users, the answer may not be to protect the price. The answer may be to let the market reprice it. Now, the question is by when? This scenario could show up quickly. By late 2026, sales centers may start using this announcement as confidence building marketing. By spring of 2027, buyer leverage could weaken in newer condo projects, especially in areas where the government removes a large amount of inventory. By late 2027 into 2028, condo prices may stop falling even if affordability has not meaningfully improved. That is the key risk. The markets may stabilize, but not because households can suddenly afford more. It may stabilize because the government removed supply from the market. Let's talk about scenario number three. I call this the delayed rescue scenario. This is the scenario where the announcement sounds big, but execution is slow, which generally happens with most of the government projects. And in real estate, execution matters more than the press conference. Think about the challenges. Which condo qualifies? What price does government pay? Are these units suitable for families? Are these near school, transit, jobs, and services? Are the strata fees reasonable? Who manages the units? What happens if the units are luxury units priced over 1 million? What happens if the floor plan is too small? What happens if the developer wants one price but the government wants a bulk price? This is where the plan can become complicated because vacant condos does not automatically mean good affordable housing. A 480 square feet unit with high strata fees in an expensive tower may not be the best long term affordable housing solution. And if the government only absorbs the easiest units, the market may still be left with the most difficult inventory, expensive units, awkward layouts, overpriced luxury units, or projects in weaker locations. In this scenario, developers still face pressure. Some keep offering incentives, some delay launches, some cancel future projects, and that creates a different problem later. We may have too much inventory today, but too little supply tomorrow. This is the cycle we keep repeating in the lower mainland. We overbuild the wrong product when money is cheap. The market freezes, then projects get cancelled. Then a few years later, supply becomes tight again and prices move up again. So the question is, by when does this all play out? If the program details are delayed in fall of 2026 or if the pricing negotiation becomes difficult, the market may not feel much relief until 2027. Through 2027, you could still see developer incentives, assignment pressures, and receivership type stories in weak projects. By 2028 and 2029, the bigger issue may shift from unsold inventory to lack of supply. By 2030 or 21, if population growth and demand returns, but fewer projects are started in 2026 and 2027, the market could face another supply crunch. This is the delay rescue scenario. Short term pain remains, long term supply gets worse. Area could feel it the most. This is not this will not affect every lower mainland market equally. The impact will likely be stronger in areas with higher concentration of completed unsold apartment inventory. Based on the CMHC data, some of the larger apartment inventory pockets include places like Coquitlam West, Richmond City Centre, Langley Township, parts of Burnaby, Surrey Downtown, and high density nodes. That matters because if the government buying is concentrated in certain buildings or neighborhoods, those micro markets could stabilize faster than others. For example, if a large amount of inventory is absorbed near transit oriented areas, those buildings may suddenly look less distressed. But if Surrey City Centre, Wally, Langley, or Coquitlam still have projects where pricing is out of line with buyer affordability, those projects may still need to be discounted. So do not look at this as one lower mainland market. This is going to be building by building, developer by developer, location by location, and most importantly, price points by price point. A well priced one bedroom near transit is not the same as an overpriced luxury two bedroom in a high strata fee building. For buyers, this announcement creates two opposite forces. On one side, the market is still soft, inventory is high, sales are slow, prices are down year over year. That means buyers still have leverage today. But on the other side, if governments start absorbing inventory, some of that leverage may reduce. So, my advice to buyers is this: do not panic, do not rush because the government has made an announcement, but also do not assume today's buyer leverage will last forever. If you are buying a new condo, you need to compare three things. Number one, developer pricing versus comparable resale pricing. Number two, incentives versus actual price reduction. And number three, the long term quality of that building, the strata fees, floor plan, location, and rental flexibility. Because a discount on a bad unit is still not a good deal. And paying full price for a unit just because the government is absorbing inventory is also not a good strategy. You need to buy the right product at the right price for the right reasons. For resale condo sellers, this is not an immediate rescue. If you own a condo and you're thinking, great, government is buying inventory, my pricing will jump up next month, I would be careful. The resale market still depends on buyer affordability, mortgage rates, employment confidence, and competition from other listings. But if this plan is executed well, it may reduce the pressure coming from new unsold developer inventory. That could help the resale condo stop sliding as much. The bigger benefit for resale sellers may show up in 2027, not immediately. But sellers need to price based on today's market, not tomorrow's hope. Be careful of that. If your condo is completing with a new construction incentive, assignments, and developer discounts, your pricing has to be realistic. The government announcement may help sentiments, but it does not erase competition overnight. For developers, this could be a lifeline. Not necessarily a full bailout, but definitely a liquidity tool. If they can if they can move completed unsold inventory, they can reduce carrying costs, satisfy lenders, and potentially restart future planning. But this is a catch. If the government buys units only at deep discounts, developers still take pain. If government buys at generous pricing, taxpayers take more risks. This is why the pricing model matters. The fall 2026 details will be very important. Who qualifies? What price is paid? How affordability is defined? How long these units stay affordable? And whether this becomes a one time cleanup or a permanent backstop for developers. Because if the developers believe government will always step in when inventory piles up, that creates a moral hazard. It could encourage more risky developments and decisions in the future. Here's my take. This plan could be a good fit if it does three things. First, it buys units at a real discount. Second, it converts them into genuinely affordable homes for the long term. And third, it clears enough inventory to keep the construction pipeline alive without artificially inflating condo pricing. But this plan becomes risky if it does these three things differently. First, if it protects developers from normal market losses. Second, if it removes buyer leverage without improving affordability. And third, if it uses taxpayer money to support prices that were never affordable in the first place. So the question is not simply, is this good or bad? The real question is, at what price, for which unit, in which location, and with what long term affordability rules? That's what we need to watch. So, if the government absorbs roughly 50% of unsold developer inventory, my three scenarios that I discussed are soft landing, prices stabilize, and the market becomes more orderly by late 2027. Scenario number two, price floor. Developers reduce discounts, buyers leverage weaknesses, and affordability does not improve much by 2027 or 2028. Scenario 3, delayed rescue. Execution is slow, weak projects remain under pressure, and by 2029 and 2030, we risk another supply shortage because too many future projects were cancelled. And my personal view, the most likely outcome is the mix of all of three. Some of the inventory will be absorbed, some developers will be helped, some buyers will lose leverage in certain buildings, but the broader market will still depend on affordability, rates, jobs, and confidence. So don't just listen to the announcement, watch for the details because in real estate, the headlines create emotions, but the fine print creates the actual market impact. If you want me to break down how this affects your area, reach out at any time. There's a link in my description below to book a one on one call with me. And if you haven't done so already, hit the bell icon and the subscribe button so that you are informed of every single video I put out. Thank you for watching.